welcome back to Reaching the Summit Women's Basketball Podcast. Well, folks, she may not be able to name all of Santa's reindeer, but she's certainly one heck of a basketball coach, someone we admire and respect, and that is head coach of Tommy Women's Basketball, Coach Ruth Sinn. Coach, thanks for coming back to the show this season.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And I do now know Santa's reindeer.
Okay, it's in the plans actually to test that out later. So
oh my goodness,
we'll get to that. Coach, I want to start with actually just talking a little bit about last year at the Summit League tournament in the press conference. I don't remember who it was, but somebody asked you if the depth that SDSU and some of these other teams have is kind of on your list of Division I standards to achieve. And it looks like we're kind of seeing some more of that from your team. So can you just talk about, Hill, Langbin, and Lamker, I think, are all juniors now. Scalia is a sophomore, and you have Jordan Glynn back. And some of that experience is kind of starting to set in. Can you just talk a little bit about how that's helped you out thus far this season?
Yes. That is the enjoyable part of coaching, is when you can take a group of young ladies and you can, really live this journey with them year by year by year. This is the age of the transfer portal. And don't get me wrong, the transfer portal has its own place. But I think the real beauty in what you get to do is you get to really, make relationships with these young ladies. You get to be on this life's journey with them all the way through. And, this is the first year that we have an upperclassman dominant team. If you look at our existence in Division I, year one was the post-COVID year. We are going with our babies that are 19 years old as far as our majority of our team against these 25-year-olds and these 26-year-olds. And then even last year, we kind of got our feet wet with that first year, knowing the league, knowing the expectations, but yet we were still, the majority of our team was underclassmen. This year is the first year where the majority of our team is upperclassmen, juniors and seniors. And we are really seeing a better understanding of engagement, a better understanding of leadership, and how they can pour into the other players and really take ownership into this program and what we're doing and what we want to achieve. And so it's been it's been very enjoyable to take that next step and, really establish a players coach team.
Absolutely. Well, it's certainly been enjoyable to watch. Starting with the non-con, you have a WAC win, a West Coast win, an OVC win over former Summit League member Western Illinois, and I think 2 Horizon League wins. So some good kind of mid-major wins in your non-conference. Aside from experience, what have you been seeing that kind of contributed to that effort?
I as we were talking about, I think it's just kind of a maturity and understanding of what we need to do to be successful. The type of engagement, the type of intensity, the type of ownership that is going to help our players to be able to figure things out. I mean, we look back at that UMKC game, and UMKC is a very formidable opponent. They're going to throw everything at you. Defensively, they're going to put a lot of pressure on. And that was a game that it wasn't going perfect, but our young ladies had that mindset that we got to find a way. And we got to find a way, and we got to come together. And I think you're really seeing it in their resolve and as I said before, their ownership.
Absolutely. You're 2-0 in Summit League play. Some people might say that's only 2 games, but it is worth pointing out that that's the best 2-game start that you've had since joining the league. So I want to really dive into these North Dakota and Kansas City games. We'll start with the good things. So in the North Dakota game, Amber Scalia went bonkers with like 27 points. I think Jade Hill scored 20. It was raining threes, 32-point first quarter or something like that. Offensively, what did you think you did well, and what did you like out of that performance?
The thing that I really enjoyed about that game is the way we shared the ball. If you look at, I think we had 28 made field goals, and out of the 28 made field goals, 20 of them were assisted. And I think that's where, you really get buy-in and you really get excitement, is when everybody can make each other better. We keep talking about that. There's a karma of the basketball, and how can we share the ball and get that energy when people touch the basketball. And so it was really exciting to watch that. We kind of knew that we were in a good spot when our first basket was Amber Scalia driving down the lane, and she kicks to Angie Hammond, and Angie hits a three, who doesn't normally take threes. And we thought, okay, they're in the right mindset with this. But it was a fun night with that. We did shoot very, very well.
You mentioned Angie Hammond. I was going to bring her up. She came over from Minnesota after a year at Dade and 2 years at Southeastern, which, for any listeners that don't know, NAIA championship contending Southeastern. That's a great basketball program that she came out of. She doesn't score a lot, like you just mentioned, but what other ways has she made an impact on the court for you thus far?
Everybody has their own advantages they bring. And what Angie brings to us is on the defensive end. And we need more and more players that are like, okay, I am going to be a D stopper here. I am going to be a juggernaut on the defensive end. And she is a force to be reckoned with. And so she's really brought that kind of, mentality that we're going to defend, we're going to be about the defensive end. And then she also has an offensive component as far as a physicality with it. But I've really appreciated having her come in as a grad transfer about how do I take ownership into this team? How do I invest in this team? How do I give up my gifts from this team? Sometimes as graduate transfers, it's more so it's about me. It's not about serving this team. And Angie has done a really nice job of serving this team and really bringing that defensive component to our team.
Yeah, she's certainly fun to watch. I didn't do a whole lot of research before the season. I didn't know who was on what roster. And that first game, I was like, who's this? I need to learn more about her. So I'm excited for her this season. Moving to the Kansas City game, Jo Langbin led the charge with 17 points and 13 rebounds. What did you like from her that day?
The thing that I like about Jo and then the steps that she has taken this year is she really is focused on the next play. The basketball is a game of runs, and there's highs and there's lows, and you try to minimize that. But Jo has really done a great job of kind of letting the mistakes go and getting on to the next play. And she was a force on the rebound end, both defensively and offensively. And then she is so athletic, the way she can run the floor, the things that she can do physically as far as her strength. And so a double-double is pretty impressive. The interesting thing about it is if you were to talk to Jo, she's like, well, that wasn't one of my best games. And it's like, okay, that's not a bad idea that you have a double-double, but yet you still want more. And so Jo has really taken that next step about, really focusing on the next play, what we need to do, and, what the team needs best.
Absolutely. So speaking of what the team needs to do, we do have to talk a little bit about some of the things that were maybe not so great. Between the two games, you turned the ball over 44 times. I'm sure you know that. North Dakota and Kansas City combined scored 133 points, and 39% of those points were off turnovers. What's the point of emphasis in practice with this?
We have been talking about this. We have a couple of, teams always have mantras, right? And one of our mantras is our C's. And one of our C's is consistency. So after the UMKC game, my team, tongue in cheek, are like, well, at least we're consistent that we're over 20 turnovers a game. And I'm like, could we be like the men's team and, lead the nation in least amount of turnovers? But it is an area that we're working on. And, I think one of the things with our group as we move forward is just being more decisive, being more deliberate, and really understanding that they have the power when the basketball's in their hands. I do think that's something that in women's basketball sometimes it's like, we play too fast. We go too quick. And our young ladies, they're doing a much better job of understanding that they have the power when they have the ball in their hands, that they can do that. You see that on the free throw line. We're getting to the free throw line at a much higher rate than we ever have before. But now it's got to translate into turnovers, and a lot of it is our decision making. So we are definitely working on that. I would like to be consistent there at a lower number, though.
Lower level.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Sac State scores. I looked it up. I can't remember. I want to say they score like 9 points off of turnovers, and Portland State's around 13. So a little less than what you've been allowing. So hopefully those two will come together to work that out. We're going to shift gears for just a quick moment. I'm going to show the people the Ruth Sinn Reindeer Gate and see what they think and see if you can do better this time. So here's Ruth Sinn attempting to name Santa's reindeer.
Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen.
I'm so sorry. It just cracked me up. I'm not saying that I could do any better. I wonder if I know Sammy Opichka got it like on the first try, or at least the first try in the video. I don't know if she practiced before that. So I don't know if you scheduled a tutoring session, but you said that you can name them now. So I'm going to put you on the spot.
Well, the big thing is you got to remember the song. Now you know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen, Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen.
Great job.
And so that was the thing is I didn't remember the song and I was trying to go on it on my own. But once you get the song, it's like, oh, I got it. Because we all listen to Christmas songs,
Absolutely. Yeah, just a little shameless plug. I don't know who runs the Twitter account for St. Thomas women's basketball, but it's absolute fire. I love the content every year. So keep it up. Whoever you have to tell they're doing a good job, please do that for me.
That would be Kelsey Whaley. She does a great job for us. So we are very excited to have her and her gifts.
Absolutely. We love Kelsey. Coach, my final question for you is last year at the Summit League tournament, I asked Maggie Negard in the presser what she learned and what she hoped the team would take with them, after her exit into the season. And she looked at me and gave me chills. And she said, I can't wait to come back and watch St. Thomas win this tournament because they will. And I know that it's a little bit early, but it certainly looks, you've got the attention, of Midco people, league people saying, like Ruth Sinn, this team's a contender. What do you think it's going to take to be able to come back and do that?
Well, it's a long ways from that point. As you said, it's only been 2 games, but I do think the biggest thing is, can we continue to make sure that everything counts? It's cliche, and I understand that. And as a sports, broadcaster, you want to hear something big, but it really is down to, can we continue to focus on what's right in front of us? Not only the game in front of us, the quarters in front of us, the possessions in front of us, and can we take those next steps? The biggest thing I think that we've got to make sure that we avoid is getting into this comparison trap. The only people that we have to compare ourselves is to our best self. And obviously turnovers is an area that we've got to improve, but we got to continue to really focus and keep our focus really narrow into the now, and really live in the present and enjoy the present and enjoy the process of getting better. And that's got to be our number one scorecard. And if we can keep that scorecard as, how do we get wins every single day in practice, even in games, even within the games, in certain moments, then we'll be okay. And so I think that's the biggest thing. And you bring up Maggie, and Maggie was just such a gift to coach. She had such a passion and such a standard of excellence. And she's been to a lot of games. And so she's still on this train with us, and not in uniform right now, but definitely, she's a part of our program, and will always be. And she's laid the foundation for us to be able to even do what we're doing today.
Absolutely. Well, I would argue that in 19 seasons, you've also laid quite a bit of that foundation. So I know you don't like to talk about yourself too much, but I do. So congratulations on, getting to 19 seasons and your first postseason win at the Division I level last season. And I'm looking forward to great things for you.
Well,
all right. St. Thomas hosts.
We have a lot of people go into that. It's I get to be the head coach, but I'm very fortunate with the assistant coaches and the players and all the support staff. It takes a village to be able to do this.
Absolutely. St. Thomas hosts Sacramento State tonight in the first half of the Big Sky Summit Challenge before traveling to Portland State on Friday. You can catch tonight's game on Summit League Network and Fridays on ESPN+, and then the Tommies will continue Summit League play on the Summit League Network next Thursday in Brookings. Coach, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Madison, thank you for everything you do. It's so great how you continue to promote all of our women's basketball. We've got it moving. Women's basketball is kind of up and coming, but it's because of people like you and all that you give to this. So thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.